But Philadelphia and Boston aren't the only American cities that were literally built by the famous secret society. Beneath the streets of a sleepy New England town are clues from the Freemasons' most secretive and deadly days. The Freemasons have played their part in fighting for America's independence and in shaping the cities that emerged. They have been linked to everything, from the Knights Templar to the Revolutionary War, but that's just the beginning. Just outside of Boston, another stunning piece to the Freemason puzzle has been discovered, inside an ordinary house. This time, it's a possible link to the Underground Railroad.
The American Revolution wasn't the only time Americans were forced to operate in secret. In the 1800s, a massive network of abolitionists secretly transported Southern slaves to freedom. With thousands of lives and the fate of a nation at stake, there was only one place to go: underground.
And this small town was center stage for America's newest fight for freedom. The Underground Railroad made an important stop here en route to Canada. While the Underground was just a figurative name for many networks established to carry slaves to freedom in the North, here it actually went underground. And today, these houses in Concord still sit directly on top of links to this secret past. Few people know that the Freemasons played a major but hidden part in the fight against slavery. In fact, Mason Benjamin Franklin was a leading abolitionist. Here in Concord, Massachusetts, I was about to see an eerie reminder of America's darker days, unearthed accidentally during the renovation of this home.
Hey, John. Hi.
John Shatanoff knows Concord like the back of his hand. He's a local resident who's been exploring this small town's underground for years.
In 1922, when some restoration work was done on this building, they had removed a section of wall and a section to get to a chimney, and they found this room that was hidden. And research revealed that it was, in fact, used on the Underground Railroad.
Oh, let's take a look, huh?
Okay.
The building is now an art gallery. But few realize that hidden behind the fireplace is a secret room where hundreds of slaves would have stayed on their way to freedom.
Wow, look how small it is. It's neat.
Amazingly, this room concealed within the walls of this former home is only 3 foot by 6 foot and doesn't have much headroom. There are no windows, and it's cold.
In this little space, they would have come up and stayed for the evening or whatever before they were moved on to the next station in the railroad.
Typically what would happen in the middle of the night, perhaps, someone would come along with a wagon, pick up who was ever being hidden here, and they would move west toward West Fitchburg, where they would bring them to a train that would head north to Canada.
The fact that this secret space was uncovered at all is incredible. But it's those who met in the house that have opened up a Pandora's box.
This beam up here has these designs. What's going on with that?
Well, this beam was uncovered during restoration work up on the 3rd floor. The designs on here, they suspect, have some connections to the history of the Masons in Concord.
The designs on this beam are believed to be the work of the Masons, but exactly what the carvings mean is still a mystery. Does this Mason-carved beam prove the Freemasons built this subterranean escape route? We know that in 1802 this house was in fact a meeting place for the Masons, but skeptics warn that the cryptically carved beam could just be coincidental, and could have been used to build the room after the Masons left here. But one thing is for sure. The Freemasons, specifically the African-American lodges called the Prince Hall Lodges, were heavily involved in the Underground Railroad. The Prince Hall Lodges would have been ideal stops along a slave's escape to freedom. They had secret hiding spots, but most importantly, they were already a secret society and had the perfect clandestine infrastructure to pull off such a dangerous operation. And just like the Freemasons used symbols to communicate during the Revolution, stops along the Underground Railroad actually had a secret system of codes used to help people identify safe houses. If there was a quilt stitched with a house with smoke coming out of its chimney hanging on a clothesline, that meant that house was a safe house. A white ring of bricks around the top of a house's chimney meant the same. and various geometric patterns stitched into displayed quilts helped guide slaves to freedom and into rooms like the one I was standing in. But how did slaves actually get into this hiding place? Some say these hidden rooms were connected by underground tunnel systems.
The access to this room was through a cave that came into the house.
Below our feet.
It would be below us. And the entrance to that cave is out in the ridge out back.
But that's not the half of it. A ridge of caves, just a few feet away from these homes, dates back to the 17th century. The caves were initially built as separate storage areas for each house. But during the abolitionist era, some speculate that they were in fact connected and used to help the slaves move to their freedom. These connections proved to be the perfect hideouts for slaves on the Underground Railroad.
Oh my God, look at that.
Now, this is the only remaining opening in the ridge that we know of at this time.
Wow, it's really a tight space. I'm gonna take a look down in there. Wow, it's really, really small.
You know, Don, you're probably the first person in there in about 70 years.
From this small cave, escaping slaves would crawl through an underground tunnel across the backyard, under the house, and finally to the hidden room by the chimney. There they might get a meal, or they may not. Racism persisted even among those dedicated to eradicating slavery. Then, after a few hours, it's through the tunnel and out the cave again. But logistics aside, there was a real human aspect that was hard to ignore.
There's all of about, 3 feet of space. It is amazing and poignant to think of scared people being brought here in the night and asked to keep quiet or else stashed in here until they can be secreted away to another room where they're also kept quiet and fed until they're moved on. It's amazing and dehumanizing, but that's how it was done. Incredible.
The Underground Railroad carried over 50,000 slaves to their freedom in Canada. Later, many former slaves returned home, finally citizens in the land of the free. Few are aware of the role the Masons played in this chapter of American history. Today, the Freemasons continue their legacy of silence, one that has lasted for centuries. It's hard to calculate just how much the secret society of the Freemasons changed the world we live in. And as residents of Boston, Philadelphia, and Concord walk the streets of the cities the Masons helped to build, they have no idea how close they come to clues hidden all around them, clues that lie both above ground and below.
The story of Prince Hall, our founder, who was a great American and the first Grand Master associated with our first Grand Lodge and its expansion. Approximately 1 year and 4 months prior to the writing of the Declaration of Independence, Prince Hall engraved his image in the annals of American history. Prince Hall, a free black man, became a property owner, voter, and community activist in the Cambridge-Boston colony. His story has not been told nor recorded in the history textbooks, despite the fact that he was a civil rights activist who made a significant contribution to the growth and development of our nation. Although little is known about the circumstances of his birth, his condition of servitude, or his occupation, we do know, however, that because of Prince Hall's dedication to improve the quality of life for his people, accompanied by a desire to become a Freemason, he and 14 other men of color received the 3 degrees of Freemasonry by being initiated into the fraternity on March 6, 1775, in an Irish military lodge attached to the 38th Foot of the British Army. This event made Prince Hall the first of his race in North America to enter into the oldest and most prestigious fraternity in history. The historical record reflects that the others were Cyrus Johnson, Buston Slinger, Prince Reese, Prince Radine, Peter Freeman, Peter Best, John Canton, Duff Reform, Thomas Sanderson, Cato Spain, Boston Smith, Fortune Howard, and Richard Titley. Around April 14th of 1776, the military regiment to which Hall's lodge was attached received orders to relocate to the New York colony, leaving Prince Hall and his Negro brethren, all civilians, without a lodge. Prior to leaving, however, the worshipful master, Sergeant John Batt, issued to Prince Hall and his brethren a permit to walk on St. John's Day and to bury their dead with full Masonic rites. As a result, African Lodge No. 1, Ancient Accepted York Masons, was formed, with Prince Hall elected as worshipful master. As the Batt permit left Prince Hall with Masonic limitations, he petitioned the Grand Lodge of England for a full charter in 1784. On March 2nd of 1784, Prince Hall wrote a letter to William Moody, worshipful master of Brotherly Love number 55 in London, England, stating that African Lodge had been in operation for 8 years, but it only had a permit to walk on St. John's Day and to bury their dead in manner and form. He felt it best to send to the fountains of whence he received the light for a warrant. This warrant or charter was prepared that same year, but was held up when the fee sent by Prince Hall never arrived. After several years, Hall decided to entrust another fee to Captain James Scott, the brother-in-law of John Hancock, a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Captain Scott delivered the letter and the money and received the charter, which he duly delivered to Prince Hall at around the time of the writing of the United States Constitution. Prince Hall acknowledged receipt of the charter in a letter to England and added, "By the grace of God, I shall endeavor to fulfill all that is required of me in the charter, and I shall make the Constitution my guide." According to record, the naming and numbering of African Lodge number 459, which was later changed to 371 on the English Grand Lodge register, has been and is in the exclusive possession of the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, Free and Accepted Masons of Massachusetts, and it's secured in the First National Bank of Boston. It's brought out and displayed every 10 years during the Prince Hall Masonic pilgrimage. Some of us have seen it and treasure it, for it is believed to be the only original charter issued by the Grand Lodge of England that is now in the possession of any lodge in the United States. Prince Hall made significant impact upon society during his life. Among his many, he petitioned General George Washington to admit men of color into the Continental Army. Of further note, Hall distinguished himself at Bunker Hill. He led the entire lodge membership in support of Governor Bowdoin during the rebellion of Daniel Shea and his group. He petitioned the Massachusetts state legislature for funds to educate children of color. He opened his home as a school to provide an education to adults of color. He petitioned the state legislature to grant to all citizens of color the right to own real property and to vote in all elections. He also served as a special deputy to the English Grand Lodge and was armed with the charge to travel throughout the colonies to determine the number of subordinate Caucasian lodges still operating as such in the New World. The question of extending Masonry arose when Absalom Jones of Philadelphia appeared in Boston in 1791. He was an ordained Episcopal priest and a Freemason who was interested in establishing a Masonic lodge in Philadelphia. Black men from Providence, Rhode Island also traveled to Boston to inquire about Masonry. At a subsequent assembly in 1791, the African Grand Lodge was formed by delegations from Philadelphia, Providence, and New York. Prince Hall served as its first Grand Master and remained in this capacity until his death. African Lodge in Philadelphia and Hiram Lodge in Providence came under the aegis of this Grand Lodge in 1797. Prince Hall died December 4th, 1807. A broken column monument marks his gravesite in Copp's Hill Cemetery in Boston. At a General Assembly of the Craft in 1808, the name African Grand Lodge was changed to Prince Hall Grand Lodge, Free and Accepted Masons of Massachusetts. The Deputy Grand Master, Brother Nero Prince, became Prince Hall's successor as Grand Master, followed by George Middleton, then Peter Lew, and then the well-known John T. Hilton, who recommended a Declaration of Independence from the English Grand Lodge in 1827 and the assumption of powers and prerogatives as an independent Grand Lodge. During this most significant period of Masonic growth, Masonry spread throughout the colonies. Many lodges and Grand Lodges were formed under the authority of the Prince Hall Grand Lodge. Today, there are over 1 million Prince Hall Freemasons in approximately 50,000 lodges in 44 jurisdictions throughout the United States. It takes 3 more lodges to form a Grand Lodge. Hannibal Lodge No. 1 of San Francisco, Philomathian Lodge No. 2 of Sacramento, and Victoria Lodge No. 3 of San Francisco are the 3 lodges that formed the Grand Lodge, free, ancient, and accepted Masons, organized in San Francisco, California, on Tuesday, June 18, 1855. Hence, the 9th Grand Lodge was formed. The fraternity now holds the distinguished title of Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, free and accepted Masons of the state of California, Incorporated. Since its colonial birth, the organization has attracted to its ranks professional men in business, government, religion, and community service, civic-minded men of good will and character who continue to provide the needed services for the betterment of mankind, thereby leaving a legacy by which Prince Hall Freemasons are best known. To be one, ask one.